250 years. That's right. 250 years since a group of stubborn, brilliant, passionate people with a fire in their souls decided they were done being told what to do and put their names on a piece of paper that changed the world. 250 years since this country drew its first breath, fought for its freedom, and earned the right to throw the greatest backyard party in human history. I am here to tell you we are going to celebrate that birthday the right way, with fire, with smoke, with the finest American bourbon ever poured into a glass, and with enough barbecue to feed the Continental Army. Welcome to Victuals Grog. And today, for America's 250th birthday, we are pouring 6 legendary American bourbons, pairing each one with a cut of barbecue that was born in this country, from this land, from these hands. This is American food. This is American drink. This is 250 years of fire, smoke, and sipping. So let's go. July 4th, 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, what historians are calling the semi-quincentennial, America 250. It is the biggest party this country has ever thrown for itself, and every community from Guam to Alaska, from Loretta to Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and every backyard in between is getting in on the celebration. Now, there are a lot of ways to mark 2.5 centuries of American history. You could go to a museum. You could read a book. You could watch fireworks from your driveway. And all of these are fine choices. But here on Victuals and Grog, we believe the deepest, most honest way to understand American culture, to really feel what this country is made of, is through its food and its drink. Bourbon whiskey is the only native spirit of the United States of America. Congress said so in 1964. It's written into law. It is made from American grain, aged in American oak, and it cannot be made anywhere else on earth and legally be called bourbon. It is as American as the flag behind me. And what better way to celebrate our 250th birthday than with America's spirit, bourbon. And barbecue? Barbecue is the oldest cooking tradition in North America. Indigenous peoples were smoking and slow cooking meat over open fire long before the Europeans set foot on this continent. The word itself, barbecue, traces its roots to the Caribbean Tiano word of barbecue, meaning framework of sticks over a fire. And for 250 years of American history, barbecue has been how this country feeds itself when it gathers together. It is the cooking of community, of patience, and of pride. So that's what we're doing today. We have a tasting flight of 6 iconic American bourbons, each one representing a different chapter in the story of American whiskey. And for each pour, we have a barbecue pairing that belongs right alongside it. We're going to smell, sip, eat, and understand these flavors. And together, through fire, smoke, and a little more sipping, we're going to celebrate 250 years of the greatest food culture on earth. This is Victuals and Grog, a show about the flavors that define America. Victuals is an old word, goes back to 1500s, means provisions, food, sustenance, the fuel of people. Grog, well, you know what that means, alcohol. We put these two together because we believe they belong together, have always belonged together, and no birthday party proves that more than this one. Welcome aboard, and let's get into it. Hi there, Victuals and Grog, and our 250th birthday celebration for America. I couldn't have picked a better spot to do this pairing than my own backyard, my own farm here in Northwest New Jersey, where I love to just sit down and sip a good bourbon, eat some food, have a nice cigar. It's just a beautiful setting, as you can see, but here we are. And we chose 6 iconic American bourbons. They're all readily available. So I didn't go and try and find some really expensive bourbon. They're all middle of the road. They should be all readily available in your market. And I chose them specifically for our barbecue pairing because they work so well with the meals that we chose tonight. And the first one I chose was Wild Turkey 101. So Wild Turkey 101, been around for 75 plus years. And with Jimmy Russell and his son Eddie at the helm, they're the oldest American bourbon master distillers in history. And Jimmy's been at the helm since 1954, I think it is. And he is just a legend and an absolute monument to the bourbon industry. I've met him. I've talked to him. He's just a wonderful person, and he'll talk all day long about bourbon with you. And I chose 101 because it's got a little bit of a bite to it. It's got some distinction to it. And it was a great way to start our pairing tonight. Your typical Wild Turkey, and I say typical, I've been around bourbon for a little while. For you new people to the bourbon industry, you're going to find a nose, a flavor profile, a taste, a mouthfeel, all your own. And that's the best part of drinking whiskey and bourbon, is that you get to experience it yourself. And when I first got into it, I was trying to follow all these people telling me what I should taste or what I should smell. That's not what it's all about. It's all about what you get, the memories you experience, and the joy you get out of drinking bourbon. And I found that I got a lot of joy out of taking this bourbon experience that I have and pairing it with food. And what better way to celebrate the 4th of July, the 250th anniversary of America here, with a typical American barbecue. Or everyone has a barbecue. They do burgers, they do chicken, they do steak. Well, we pulled out some really good ones, and hopefully you'll really enjoy it. So the Wild Turkey 101, we get just a great vanilla, a little bit of caramel, some oak char to it. You can get that oaky flavor, and it really brings through a bourbon experience that will linger on for you. Really enjoy the Wild Turkey 101. And we paired it with a great American iconic grill, a Carolina spicy, vinegary rib. So barbecue your rib with that Carolina sauce, and we paired that with this Wild Turkey 101. I love a good rib. My brother makes a really good rib when we're down at the beach for 4th of July. He smokes it all day long in the smoker, and they just fall off the bone. This one in particular, with that Carolina spice to it, pairs really well with the Wild Turkey 101. You get that really good smoke. The barrel char from Wild Turkey 101 comes through, and then the sweetness and the mouthfeel from the fat of the rib and the bourbon really stays on your palate for quite some time. It's a really nice pairing, not overpowering, complementary with the smoke of the rib and the smoke of the wood char. And cheers to Eddie and Jimmy Russell for this great bourbon that's been around a long time. And if you think about it, Ben Franklin actually said that he wanted the American bird to be the wild turkey because it's smart, it's intelligent, and it's a beautiful bird. The American eagle obviously won out, but here's to the wild turkey because it's a great expression of Americana. Awesome. So our next pairing, we went to the father of bourbon. If it wasn't for Elijah Craig, none of these bourbons here would be in existence in the form that you see them today. Because if it wasn't for Elijah Craig, we wouldn't have our charred oak barrel. Again, charred oak. So Elijah Craig, the story There's a couple different stories, actually. One of them was he had used fish barrels, and in order to get the fish smell and flavor out of them, he burned the inside of the barrels, charred them with fire, and then poured his whiskey into the barrel in order to get that flavor out of them. He charred them. The other story is that Elijah Craig had his barn burned down on him. And rather than throw away those barrels that may have been pulled out of the fire and still usable, he used those charred oak barrels. And when he shipped his whiskey in those charred oak barrels down to Mississippi to Louisiana, the people down there loved the new amber color bourbon. It wasn't particularly called bourbon. It was an amber whiskey at the time, but they wanted that red whiskey. And when he realized that they wanted what was typically a white dog when it got down to Louisiana was now rich amber color from the char in the barrel, he realized he was onto something. So without Elijah Craig and the charred oak barrel, we wouldn't have all this color and 90% of the flavor of the bourbon that you experience today, because it all comes from the char of the oak barrel. So here's to Elijah Craig. Just a smooth vanilla, citrus notes, a little bit of rye spice to the sides of the palate, but really nice and smooth. You get some oak as it sits and lingers. You get a little more oaky flavor to it. And the reason we did this pairing is because of that oak and that char. And what we did, we paired it with a really nice brisket. Pitmaster's favorite brisket, low and slow on the smoker for a long time, 12, 24 hours sometimes. It gets that really nice bark and char to the brisket, and it really complements the bourbon, especially when you add a little bit of brisket sauce or Texas barbecue sauce to it. Nothing like a low and slow brisket. The fat, the flavor. Wash it down with a little bit of Elijah Craig. When you do that Kentucky Chew, so when you drink your whiskey, try the Kentucky Chew. Get it in there, chew it around, chew it up, get it all over your taste buds. When you do that with this dish, the char and the smoke from the brisket just comes shining through. And then you get that nice clean palate of the Elijah Craig and a little bit of a fruity note to it. It's just amazing when you do that. Love this pairing, love the char, love the fresh fruity notes that come afterwards, and the mouthfeel with the fat of the brisket just is exemplary. Here's to Elijah Craig and a charred oak barrel, right? Okay, so continuing on our 250th birthday celebration of America, what better way to celebrate America than with pulled pork? We're going to go pulled pork this time, and we paired it with a Four Roses single barrel collection. So Four Roses is really unique in the industry because they have 2 mash bills. They come out with 5 different yeast strains. So every mash bill yeast strain combination, you can come out with 10 different whiskeys. And when they do that, they all have different flavor profiles. So each one of their yeast strains produces a different flavor profile in their whiskey. And tonight we chose the OBSV, and the yeast strain in this particular single barrel brings out fruity notes, light and airy, kind of whispery and quiet, and it's not overpowering. It's not really high proof like a 101. It's a 94 proof, and it comes out really nice and clean. And we paired it with, of course, barbecue pulled pork. And we have the beautiful pulled pork with a barbecue sauce, Americana for all people all around America. A nice pulled pork shoulder, low and slow, tender, juicy, sweet. And you add a little bit of Four Roses fruit forward OBSV bourbon. The citrus forward, fruity, mouthfeel really lingers because of the fat in the pork. It just really works. Really works well together. Love this Four Roses single barrel with the pulled pork. And another great American tradition to celebrate the 4th of July. Pulled pork and Four Roses single barrel. Next, we have a really interesting combination. You're going to be surprised at this one. So we pulled out Old Forester Prohibition style 1920 bourbon. It's a really high proof. It's at 115 proof, so it really has a little bit of punch to it. It's interesting that it still exists because Brown-Forman was one of the few Kentucky distilleries that survived Prohibition because they've got a distillery permit and license to operate during Prohibition for medicinal purposes, right? So it's been continuously being produced even through Prohibition, and that's rare because there was only 6 distilleries, I believe, that got permission or licenses to produce whiskey for those medicinal purposes during Prohibition. And this one has a really strong punch to it because of the proof. It's got caramel and spice and oakiness to it, and it lingers on your tongue. Now, the really interesting part of this pairing is we chose chicken. And I know you're saying, chicken, really? With a really high proof whiskey, you're pulling this really delicate flavor profile out of the chicken? Well, with the spice rub that we put on this chicken and the complimentary Alabama white sauce. So if you haven't heard of it, look it up. It's a great recipe for a barbecue sauce that you've not had before or may not have before. I know it's really unique. And it's a white barbecue sauce, mayonnaise based, and on the chicken, it really shines through with a good fat content and a great flavor profile. It's just delicious. You really have to try it. And what that does to the whiskey, it really pulls what would typically be an oak forward, strong, really punchy pre-Prohibition style whiskey. It brings out the fruity notes to it. And I was really surprised about that when I first tried this. It has a great mouthfeel because of the fat, and the mayonnaise really works together well with the whiskey, and it lingers, and you have fruit notes and caramel. It's just a really interesting and amazing pairing. You need to give it a try. And the more I drink it, the more you taste it. It's really interesting because I'm going to just dip in, going all in, because it's the sauce and the whiskey. It's an apple. It's really an appley flavor. It's not your typical citrus forward profile. It brings out some apples to it. And it's just an amazing style of barbecued chicken, Alabama white sauce, Old Forester, Prohibition style 1920. You really have to try it. It's just America in a glass and on a plate. Give it a shot. All right, we've got two more to go. Our 250th anniversary of America celebration. I hope your 4th of July is really good. Enjoy it however you like. You can watch some fireworks, etc. And I'm sure someone out there is going to be grilling a cheeseburger. And I paired it tonight with one of my very favorite bourbons. And it was the bourbon that got me into drinking bourbon. So it's got to be 20 years ago or more. My brother walked in with a bottle of Maker's Mark. And you can walk into any bar or any liquor store and you see that iconic red wax seal that's on a bottle of Maker's Mark. You know what you're getting. You know it's Maker's Mark. You know where you're going. It's a wheated mash bill. So Bill Samuels Sr. created 7 loaves of bread years ago, and they all tasted them at the dinner table, the different loaves of bread that he created with the different mash bills that he created, and he came out with the red winter wheat mash bill. So he replaced the rye, so that spice content is kind of going away, and he pulled out a fresh red winter wheat, which really smoothed out his bourbon, created a really delicate flavor profile. It's got a beautiful color to it. Maker's Mark is one of the few, they may be the only distiller that still rotates barrel. They also age to flavor. They don't give you an age statement. It's not going to be a 5-year-old bourbon or a 6-year-old bourbon. It's going to be aged to the Maker's Mark flavor profile. And they still do this today. That red wax dip is still dipped by hand by some employee in Loretto, Kentucky. Hand dipped, every single one of them. Unique. It's also trademarked. So your dripping red wax has been trademarked and held up at the Supreme Court of the United States as an iconic trademark for Maker's Mark. You won't find any other red or wax dipped, dripping freely. You'll see wax covered, but they'll have to be evenly cut on the bottle. They can't be free flowing drippings. But Maker's Mark, typical. Typical. I keep saying typical. I'm sorry. You folks don't know what typical bourbon is. This is just an outstanding, calm, flavored, smooth bourbon. The caramel and vanilla come through. And I paired it with an iconic barbecue, backyard, grill, charcoal, Blackstone, gas grill, whatever you choose, American cheeseburger. I happen to like my cheeseburger with ketchup. You can put mustard, you can put onions, you can put whatever you want on your cheeseburger. But a good 80-20 cut of ground beef on a cheeseburger. In the summertime, it doesn't get much better than that. It really doesn't. You add my favorite bourbon, Maker's Mark, to that. That is just summer in America, 4th of July, barbecue, all of it in a glass and on a plate. And the experience of that is what Whiskey Proposition and Victuals and Grog is all about. That delicious pairing of whiskey with a great, iconic American cheeseburger. It doesn't get much better than that. And I know some of you are going to say, yeah, it gets better. And it might, because the next one I have for you may be your favorite. It might not be my favorite. Well, you never know. So we ran down to Buffalo Trace. Of course, Buffalo Trace, iconic distillery, one of the oldest operating distilleries, if not the oldest operating distillery on this piece of property in America, creates some fantastic whiskeys. Pappy Van Winkle's one of them. Weller, Blanton's, Eagle Rare. But you don't have to pay those prices for those whiskeys. You get Buffalo Trace, $39, $35 here in New Jersey, whatever. But it is just a beautiful whiskey from the #1 mash bill at Buffalo Trace. So you got your rye mash bill at Buffalo Trace. You can smell that rye. You can smell the caramel coming through. It's a beautiful amber color. Just smooth as silk at an affordable price. And where did we go with this one? Well, we went straight to your beautiful, well-marbled, seared in an iron pan ribeye steak. Lots of marbling, lots of fat, lots of flavor. Again, you may be saying, this is your favorite. It might be. I happen to like the burger. I love a good ribeye too. However, when you pair this ribeye with the Buffalo Trace, so you got the ribeye with a good pan sear on it, medium rare, salt and pepper, just your beautiful, well done ribeye. Not well done, but medium rare done. Perfectly cooked is more the word. Just magnificent. And when you throw a little Buffalo Trace, you get such a balanced combination of char from the ribeye, the oak char from the whiskey comes through. Your fat creates mouthfeel, so you get a lingering mouthfeel of fruit, vanilla, smoothness from the Buffalo Trace. Just an outstanding pairing on a hot summer night here in New Jersey, drinking Buffalo Trace and snacking on a ribeye. A great way to celebrate the 4th of July. And I hope you all are, when you listen to this or go through it and you think about your next barbecue or your next picnic, you think about how those bourbons, your whiskeys, go with your food, and sit down and experience it. Sit down and don't gobble it all down. Don't chug it all down. Taste it, experience it, enjoy it. Relax a little bit, because that's what it's all about. Just enjoying your experience. And here at Whiskey Proposition, we're all about the experience. And at Victuals and Grog, you got your victuals, you got your grog, and I hope you all pair them well. So you should pair with passion, pair with purpose, and know that the whiskey is all about the experience. Thank you for coming. Cheers.